blast in Nairobi kills 2 people, injures 222. From Gaza, satellite photo shows 1 kilometer deep path on border and Israel. China, authorities execute couples for throwing 2 children out of window. From Germany, neo-Nazi hunter investigated for suspected right-wing extremism. United States government to strike Iranian target in Syria. Australia, police rescue 3-year-old boy trapped in cloud machine.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
The details. A huge gas blast in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, has killed at least 2 people and injured at least 222. A lorry carrying gas exploded in Embakasi district around 23:30, igniting a huge ball of fire, a government spokesperson said. Housing, businesses, and cars were damaged, with videos showing a huge blast ranging close to a block of flats. Earlier, the government has said the blast happened at a gas plant. The cause is still being established. Mr. Maura said the fireball from the blast has spread widely and the flying gas cylinder has hit a garment and textiles warehouse, burning it down. The blast is also reported to have spread through several apartment complexes. Witnesses told local media that they had felt turmoil immediately after the blast. Many of the injured are said to have inhalation injuries and had included at least 25 children and standard newspaper reports. Government spokesman Isaac Mowara said the blast scene has been secured and a command center has been set up to help coordinate rescue operations. Kenyans are hereby advised to keep off the car-burnt area in order to allow the rescue mission to carry out with minimal disruption, he added. Victims of the last December oil terminal explosion in Guinea capital, Conakry, said that left 20 dead, has protested against what they call the failed promises of the military government to help rebuild their houses. In addition to who were killed, at least 240 others were injured in the inferno. Buildings were damaged, windows were blown out, and residents were forced to flee their homes. Hundreds of those affected held an impromptu demonstration on Thursday, which was led by women and paralyzed activities in Kalomu and administrative and business centers on the Canary. They carried placards with messages such as, "We don't want false promises, stop the killing, Kenya is suffering, Kanalum is suffering, and we are tired, our children are in danger." Demonstrators blocked at the highway in the morning, preventing workers from getting to their offices. They also condemned the government's cut in food aid and high prices of food items, as well as internet and media restriction. After hours of protest, the police fired tear gas to disperse the crowd. The U.S. ambassador to UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, has rated Libya as an example for democracy for the whole of Africa. Following a recent visit of the region, she told journalists in New York that with the second post-Civil War democratic transition and a sitting president gracefully accepting defeat, Libya is truly an example for not just West Africa, but the entire continent of Africa. We really should commend Libyans for that success, he said. Her comments follow as part of COP in the region, which some have equated to a lack of faith in the democracy in the region. President Joseph Boakai was sworn in at the beginning of the last week after the defeated football icon turned President George Weah by the size margin. Ambassador Greenfield attended the ceremony on President Joe Biden's behalf. To reassume Libya of the U.S. unflinching commitment to supporting the country's development, Libya has been very supportive and worked closely with us here at the UN, and we are recommitting to helping President Bukai succeed. He said, we have been a close ally and partner to Libya throughout. South African election officials have visited prisons across the country as part of an ambitious project to register at least 100,000 inmates to vote in their last national election. The country's constitution guarantees every adult citizen the right to vote, meaning there are no restrictions or prisoners taking part in the election. A stark contrast to most other African nations, the date for the vote has not yet been announced, but is expected to be held between May and August. The Electoral Commission of South Africa hopes to register a record number of inmates in the 240 correctional facilities across the country as voters. Around 15,000 prisoners voted in the last national election in 2019. South Africa has about 157,000 inmates. Currently in prison, according to authorities, the country struggles with one of the highest crime rates in the world. The commission said that though it was concluded to visit all 24 prisons by the end of Thursday, it still could not say how many prisoners were countrywide has registered. At the all-male Zoda Water Correctional Center on the outskirts of the capital, Pretoria Prison in orange uniform lined up Thursday in a hall to register as first-time voters or update their details on the electoral roll if they have been recently inculcated. Guard kept a close watch. A banner with a word ensuring free and fair election was pinned to a prison wall. Other inmates ignored the process, chatting to each other to getting on with their work-prepared lunch in the cafeteria. Satellite photos show new demolition along a 1-kilometer depart on the Gaza Strip border with Israel, according to an analysis by Praise and expert reports. The destruction came as Israel has said it wants to establish a buffer zone there over international objection, further tearing away a land and the Pakistani wanted for a state. The demolition along the path represents only a sliver of the wider damage from the Israel-Hamas war seen in Gaza, which one assessment suggests has damaged or destroyed half of all the buildings within the coastal enclave. Israel's leaders have signaled that they would like to establish a buffer zone as a defensive measure, which they contest would prevent a repeat of the October 7th cross-border attack by Hamas that triggered the nearly 4-month-old war. That dispute, despite U.S. warning not to strain Gaza's territory. Israel's military declined to answer whether it is carving out a buffer zone. When asked by the AP, only saying it takes various imperative action that they are needed in order to implement a defense plans that will provide improved security in southern Israel. However, the military has acknowledged it has demolished buildings throughout the area, and Israel's government officials, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss ongoing internal deliberations, said a temporary security buffer zone is under construction. But the scope of demolitions called how temporary the possible buffer zone will be. You are watching the international news on Atlantic Television Network. Very soon after this break.
beyond the line, across the ocean, to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara. We bring honest pop news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back. This is international news on Atlantic Television Network, and now the rest of our stories. China has executed a couple who fatally threw two children out of windows of an apartment building. Zhang Bo, the father of the children, and Yang Chongqing were previously found guilty of killing the two-year-old girls and 2-year-old girl and 1-year-old boy in 2020. Zhang has begun an affair with a young and later divorced his wife and began conspiring to kill his children. China's Supreme Court has called the couple's motive extremely malicious, highlighting their cruel method. The couples were executed in the southeastern city of Chongqing on Wednesday. It is not clear how the execution was carried out, though death sentences in China are mostly carried out by lethal injection or fleeting square. Zhang has begun an inappropriate relationship with the young without informing her of his marital or paternal status, but yet continued to see him after knowing the truth, the court said. After Yang divorced his wife in February 2020, yet still saw the two children as obstacles for her to get married to Zhang and began for their future life together. He repeatedly threatening Zhang to carry out the murder, which they conspired to stage as an accident. The court in November 2020, and Yang threw his kids out of the windows of the apartment from the 16th floor. Chinese billionaire banker Bo Fang, who has been missing for almost a year, has resigned from financial firm China Resilience Holding Limited. He stepped down for the health reason and to spend more time on his family's affair. The bank said in a statement, Mr. Bo's unexplained disappearance in February last year shocked China's business and investing community. Just days after China Resilience said he was cooperating with authorities who were conducting an investigation. In his last filing, the company said its co-founders, Zheng Yong, will assume more board duties. Mr. Bo, who has no disagreement with the board, and there is no other matter relating to the resignation that needs to be brought to the attention of the stakeholders, it added. He was one of the Chinese bankers with a client list that includes internal giants Taikans, Alibaba, and Baidu. North Korea on Friday extended a provocative run-in weapon test by fleeting cruise missile into the sea as leader Kim Jong-un called for the military to step up war preparation while touring a shipyard. South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff said the U.S. and the South Korean militaries were analyzing the North Korean launching into its western sea. It said the South military detected multiple missiles, but it did not immediately provide the specific number or an assessment of their flight characteristics. The launches, which were the North's fourth round of cruise missile tests in 2024, came hours after state media reported that Kim reiterates its focus on strengthening its naval forces as is inspected on specific naval projects at the airship in Mapo on the west coast. Kim recently to build a nuclear-armed navy to counter what he portrays as growing external threats. South Korea and Japan, which have stepped up their military cooperation to cope Kim nuclear weapon and missile program. North Korea's officials media did not specify when Kim visited Nampo. In paraphrase, Kim as saying that the strengthening of his naval force presents itself as the most important issue to reliably defending the maritime sovereignty of the country and stepping up the war preparation. Media did not specify the type of warship being built in Mampo and said they are related to the 5 years military development plan set during a development plan set during a ruling party congress in early 2021. During those meetings, Kim revealed an extensive wish list of advanced military assets, which include nuclear power, submarine and nuclear missile that can be launched from underwater. During the inspection, Kim was briefed on the progress of the naval project and remaining technological challenges and other workers to unconditionally complete the efforts within the time frame of the plan that runs through 2025, media said. When the Germany overthrew Mayan election government on February 1st, 2021, it looked like a walkover that could entrench the military in power indefinitely. 3 years later, a poorly armed grassroots resistance movement has shaken the military's garb in the modern day's David vs. Goliath conflict. Overshadowed by the war in Ukraine and Gaza, Myanmar, a civil war, is no longer one of the front page even as violence perpetrated under the military government has risen. A strike on villages have increased and civilian casualties have grown, according to the Armed Conflicts Location and Events Data Project, a US-based non-profit organization and Mayan witnesses and project headquarters in Britain. The war has endangered the humanitarian crisis. The UN Special Rapporteur on the human rights situation in Myanmar said in an interview, thousands and thousands have been killed, 2.3 million people have been displaced, 18.6 million in Myanmar has in high need right now of humanitarian aid. Tom Andrews said half of the country has fallen into poverty. The education system doesn't exist for millions of children. The healthcare system is in shambles. Inside Myanmar, opponents of military rule called for a silent strike on Thursday's anniversary, with people showing their solidarity by staying inside their home or workplaces. The same tactics was employed on the two previous anniversaries. 8 nations, including the United States and the European Union, issued a statement calling for the military government, led by Senior Gen Min Young-hing, to hit violence against civilians, release all political prisoners, including all state leaders Aung San Suu Kyi, and allows access for humanitarian group and dialogue among all stakeholders. The U.S. also imposed new sanctions against 2 companies and 4 individuals that is accused of providing revenue for the military. Opposition activists strongly support such sanctions, especially one that restricts the supply of aviation fuel that enable the military government's airstrikes. The 2021 military takeover was met by widespread non-violent protests and civil disobedience, but the confrontation escalated into the violence after security forces had deadly force against the protesters. This is International Tidbits on Atlantic Television Network. We return after this break.
beyond the lines, across the ocean, to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak's 12-year jail sentence for corruption has been helped by the country's pardon board held in 2022 for stealing national fund. He will be released in August 2028, on the board said. Najib, who served from 2009 to 2018, was convicted in 2020 as part of the IMDb scandal related to the embezzlement of the Malaysian state-owned wealth fund, One Malaysia's Development Bahab. The fund imposed on him was also reduced from 210 million ringgit to 500 ringgit. He had only been served his sentence since August 2022 after spending 2 years appealing his conviction before the court. The jailing of such a senior figure in Asian politics at the time accused major ripples across Southeast Asia. It was held up as the rare example of accountability in the region where power is so often accountable. 7 workers seized at the Proctor and gambling plant outside the Turkish city of Istanbul were rescued after a 9-hour ordeal, officials said. Police in Gaza move is after the suspect, who was apparently protesting at the war in Gaza, went to the toilet. Local Governor Sada Yu said the hostage has suffered no injuries. Image online shows the suspect is face hidden by the Pakistani scarf, wearing that appearing to be an explosive vest and carrying a gun. He was detained unharmed after the meticulous rescue operation, Mr. Yahoo's added. The hostage tanker entered the plant at about 15 local time. Local news agency reports the hostage were released shortly before midnight. Officials say the suspect wanted to draw attention to the ongoing situation in Gaza. The Palestinian flag was reportedly planted at the entrance of the building with a sign saying "Door will be open for Gaza." Police officials cordoned off access to the factory and medical staff were dispatched to the scene. Officials say the large-scale investigation into the incident is underway. Footage from the scene during the standoff shows relatives of some hostage clustered together at the police cordon some distance from the plant. Ismet Zini, whose wife worked at the plant, told DHA she has sent him a message saying she has been taken hostage. However, he added he did not know if it were her or someone else. Relative of the hostage has expressed frustration at the lack of information in Turkish officials or the police. We have been waiting 46 hours without officials making a statement, the father of one hostage told press earlier. In a statement, PNG said it was relieved no one was harmed during the incident. We are grateful to the authorities and first responders who managed the situation with courage and professionalism, the company added. It also said the suspect was not an employee. Kosovo's authorities are pressing ahead with policy that making the euros the only acceptable currency, even though some areas still use Serbian dinar. The move has caused concern among Kosovo's international partners. The EU, US, and UK are worried it may increase tension in majority Serb municipalities. Another coming under pressure, Kosovo's government said it would not implement punitive measures immediately if people continue to use the dinar. but that is not likely to reassure Kosovo's Serb, who have seen a succession of symbols of their identity erased in recent months. Serbian number plates disappeared after the start of the year. Kosovo's authority has been removing Serbian flags and signs from public buildings in majority Serbian area. The potential impact of the currency policy is obviously in placing such a North Motravska. The town may be within the border of the Republic of Kosovo, but enter the shop, cafe and restaurants on the north bank of the river Ibar, and you will quickly find that prices are set in Serbian dinars. The dinars usage reflects that fact that most of the population in Kosovo's four northern municipalities are Serb. They do not recognize Kosovo's 2008 unilateral declaration of the independence from Serbia, and many works in institutions which are still found by the government in Belgrade. That means their salaries are paid in dinar. The sum applies to pension and social benefit paid to Serb living in Kosovo, who are in a majority in total of in 10 municipalities. They have made little notice of the authorities' plan to ban the use of the dinar. The central bank only made the announcement midway through January, leaving the time to adopt. EU says it is concerned about the consequences that its decision might be on the daily lives of Kosovo's Serbs. The EU announced on Thursday that all its leaders agreed a 50 billion euros aid package for Ukraine, including Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who has previously blocked the agreement. European leaders celebrated, and Ukraine breathed a sign of relief. Some saw the deals and proved that Hungary calculated. But Mr. Orban returned to Budapest proclaiming victory too. We fought it out. They can't give Hungarian money to the Ukrainians, or Orban posted on Facebook. We will not pay part in a war. We would not send weapons. We remain on the side of peace. In fact, the audio represents a major clampdown. Mr. Orban insisted until now that the money for Ukraine should not come from the main 2021-2027 EU budget. He wanted the money divided into 4 tranches with an annual meeting at which he or other could veto it. Instead, there will be an annual debate without the right to vote by annual review. Mr. Orban claimed that they can't give Hungarian money to the Ukraine is dubious, as the EU budget from which the 50 billion euros will be paid, including Hungarian contribution, and other details of the deals, which is important to him, is the payment to Ukraine will be dependent on the respect for the Hungarian minority. This is an important issue of the Hungarian government, which demand that the right of some 75,000 ethnic Hungarians in Ukraine to study on their own language to be restored to the 2015 level. Hungarian and other majority languages were controlled damage in Ukraine attempt to reduce the use of Russia in the use of law implemented from 2016 onward. Hans-Georg Maassen was once in charge of hunting down neo-Nazis in Germany. Now he is being investigated for suspected right-wing extremism by the intelligence agents and headed until 2018. The Maassen has published a letter from the Office of the Protection of the Contribution confirming that he is under investigation. The agency says it can't comment on individual cases because of STRAT's personal data protection rules. Mr. Hassan said on X, formerly Twitter, that the letter did not contain substantial proof that the investigation was justified, adding that the government was afraid of him. He accused the central-left Interior Minister Nancy Faeser of using the intelligence service to fight political opponents. In the letter, security officials cited Mr. Hassan's apparent brief in far-right and anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. this anti-migrant rhetoric and alleged sympathies for the far-right Rebuzga movement, members of which were arrested in December 2022 after the suspected fell coup. As head of domestic intelligence, Mr. Hassan was accused of downplaying the threat of the far right. Over the years, he became increasingly vocal about the supposed danger immigration posted to German society and his ferocious comments on social media, turning him into an icon for the radical right. The case of a Canadian man accused of supplying a poisonous chemical to people who died by suicide will head straight to trial on their own trial, court has decided. Prosecutors have also upgraded the charges against Kenneth Law from second degree to first degree murder. Mr. Law may be sent more than 120 parcels containing lethal substances to around 40 countries, including the UK. He made his latest court appearance on Thursday. Mr. Law, a 57-year-old former chef from Toronto, is facing a total of 14 first-degree murder charges, as well as 14 counts of aiding and concealing suicide, for a total of 28 charges. His lawyer, Matthew Coley, has said Mr. Law intended to plead not guilty. All of the charges are linked to death of people from across Toronto aged 16 to 36. Police have said that more than one victim is under the age of 18, and an early court appearance this week, prosecutors confirmed to Mr. Law that his case will proceed by direct indictment, bypass, and preliminary inquiry that typically assess whether evidence against the defendant is strong enough to head to trial. The U.S. has approved plans for the series of strikes on Iran targets in Syria and Iraq, officials have told the press. The strike will take place over a number of days, officials said. The weather condition will likely indicate when they are launched. It's come after a drone attack killed 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan, close to the Syrian border, on Sunday. The U.S. blamed an Iranian black militia group for that attack. The group, the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, is believed to contain multiple militia that have been armed, found, and trained by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Force. It has said it was responsible for Sunday's strike. Iran, meanwhile, has denied any role in an attack which injures 41 other U.S. troops at the military base known as Tower 22. U.S. officials have said that the U.S. intelligence believed that the drone used to attack the facilities was manufactured by Iran and is similar to the drone Iran has been sending to Russia for the invasion of Ukraine. At a news conference on Thursday, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin defended the delayed military response, saying it will respond where we choose, when we choose, and how we choose. I think everyone recognizes the challenges associated with making sure that we hold the right people accountable. He said, adding that there is no set formula for doing this. There are ways to manage this so it doesn't spiral out of control, and that's been our focus throughout, Mr. Austin continued. The U.S. President Joe Biden has approved sanctions on 4 Israeli slaughtered accused of attacking Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Mr. Biden signed a board executive order saying violence in the West Bank has reached an intolerable level. The sanction blocked the individuals from accessing all U.S. property, assets, and the American financial system. Violence in the West Bank has sparked since Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel on 7th October. Some 370 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank since then. According to the UN, the majority of those have been killed by the Israeli forces, but at least 8 of them have been killed by the Israeli slaughter, the UN said. The new executive order means the U.S. government has the power to sanction any foreign national who attack, intimidated, or seize the property of Palestinians. The sanctions are faced by the U.S. administration, a raised step targeting Israeli, and come as Mr. Biden traveled to the state of Manchang, which has a large Arab American population that has been critical of this support for Israel. The U.S. State Department has approved the potential sale of 31 armed drone missile and other equipment to India for nearly $40 billion. The MQ-9B Pentagon drone deals had been announced during PM Narendra Modi visit to the U.S. in June 2023. In December, it was put on hold by the Senate committee pending investigation into an alleged Indian assassination plot on U.S. soil. The deal will now be confirmed after approval from the U.S. Congress. It's the sale of 31 MQ-9B Sky Guardian drone, 170 AGM, 114 Arrow Hellfire missile, and 310 lesser small terminal bomb, communication and surveillance equipment as the precision guide bomb. The Pentagon said General Atomics Arrow Nuclear System will be the president. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has said he is deeply sorry for failing to nullify the chain of command when he was admitted to hospital in December. Mr. Austin, 70, was raised last month as he continued to recover from this treatment from prostate cancer. I did not handle this right, he said. I should have told the president about my cancer diagnosis. Pentagon chiefs were supposed to be available at the moment noting to handle any national security crisis. I take full responsibility and I apologize to my teammates and to the American people, said Mr. Austin in his first news conference since returning to work. As the role, I don't talk about conversation with my boss, but I can tell you I have apologized directly to President Biden. And I've told him that I'm deeply sorry for not letting him know immediately that I received a heavy diagnosis and was getting treatment. He said he has never directed anyone in his staff to hide his time in hospital from the White House or public, but did not answer questions about whether a staffer and actor outside of his order. I don't think I have created a culture of secrecy, he said. He reported on Thursday. The Defense Ministry is just below the president in the chain of command for the U.S. military and is regarded as one of the most important members of the cabinet. Mr. Austin has had surgery to treat prostate cancer in the last December. He said readmitted to hospital on New Year Day with several leg pain and pain in the hips and abdomen because of complications related to the procedure. A former CIA officer has been sentenced to 40 years in prison for leaking a trove of classified hacking tools to a whistleblowing platform WikiLeaks. Joshua Sotel was also found guilty of proceeding child abuse image. Prosecutors have accused him of leaking the CIA's Val 7 tools, which allowed intelligence officers to hack smartphone and use as listening device. They said the leak is one of the most hazardous in U.S. history. Sultan 35 shared some 876 documents to WikiLeaks in 2017, counting to the largest data breach in the history of CIA, the U.S. Justice Department said. He denied the allegation but was convicted on the various counts as 3 separate federal trials in New York in 2020, 2022, and 2023. On Thursday, he was sentenced for charges of espionage, computer hacking, contempt of court, making false statements to the FBI, and possession of child abuse image. Joshua Sotel betrayed his country by committing some of the most brazen, heinous crime of espionage in American history, and U.S. Attorney Damon Williams. According to the evidence shared on the trial, Sotel was employed as a software developer in the Center for Cyber Intelligence, which conducts cyber espionage against terrorists, organizations, and foreign governments. Prosecutors say that in 2016, he terminated the stolen information to WikiLeaks and then lied to FBI agents about his role in the leak. They said that he was screaming, motivated by the anger over the workplace dispute. Sultan has been struggling to meet deadline, and Assistant U.S. Attorney General Michael Lockyer said one of his projects was so far behind schedule that he had and the nickname drafting deadline. The prosecutors said they wanted to punish those who perceived to have wronged him and said he is carrying out the revenge he caused enormous damage of his country's national security. WikiLeaks began publishing classified data from the file in 2017. The leak, prosecutors said, immediately and profoundly damaged and CIA ability to collect foreign intelligence against American adversaries, place CIA personnel, programs, and assets directly at risk and cost a CIA hundreds of millions of dollars. The FBI interviewed Sotel several times after the WikiLeaks published the data, where he denied responsibility. A search of his department, prosecutors said, later revealed tens of thousands of images of child sexual abuse materials. They added that after his arrest, Sotel attempted to transmit more information. He smuggled the phone into jail, where he attempted to send a reporter information about CIA cyber group and draft tweets that include information about the CIA cyber tools under the name Justin Boren, a functional intelligence operative. He had been held behind bars since 2018. A U.S. mother on trial for failing to stop her son from carrying out a deadly school shooting has sought to put the blame on her husband. Jennifer Crumblin, taking the stand in her own defense, told Courier that a gun she had on her husband purchased for her son was not her responsibility. Mr. Crumblin is the first parent to go on trial for mass shooting carried out by a child. A husband, James, is facing a separate trial on the same charges. If found guilty, they each face up 15 years in prison. Their son is serving life in prison for killing 4 classmates at Oxford High School in Marching in 2021. He was 15 years old at the time of attack. Mr. Crumblin, 45, took the stand on Thursday and the 60th day of the trial. He was the first witness to testify for the defense after the prosecution presented 21 witnesses. Prosecutors will cross-examine her on Friday. Mr. Crumblin said her husband bought her son a gun the day after Thanksgiving to buy a handgun for him as a gift. She said she didn't feel comfortable being responsible for safety storing the gun, which has a cable lock. She said It was more his thing, so I let him handle that, she said. I didn't feel comfortable putting the lock thing on it. I had just rather not and let them do it. A few days later, her husband removed the lock so she could take her son to a gun range. She said, describing it as a fun day. The lock's key was kept in a bar stand displaying in the kitchen, and her husband hid the gun in a bedroom. She said she did not know that her son knew where it was kept. During the attacker's trial last year, his atomic guard that was neglected by his parents and suffered from mental illness, but he later said his parents did not know about his plans and that was solely responsible. His lawyer have said that he will invoke his right to remain silent if called to testify at his parents' trial. Mr. Crumbling legal team says she could not have predicted her son's action and she is being unfairly blamed. A small plane crashed into a trailer park on Thursday evening in Clearwater, Florida, sparking a fire that engulfed mobile homes, fire officials said. Firefighters said they received the call of a plane crash at 19:08 and quickly responded to the scene. Clearwater Fire Chief Scott Elliott said a news conference that he received from call around the same time that the airport reported a plane in trouble. Air traffic control had the plane declare a mere wait before disappearing. Video of the crash set at the Bayside Water Mobile Home Park shows wreckage crane into the streets. Chief Hare told reporters that 4 trailers were heavily involved and one was struck by the plane. The fire were quickly extinguished. He said 3 of the homes have been searched and found to contain no victims, and said, adding that the residents were inside when the plane crashed but were able to flee to safety. Investigators are still working to approach the trailer that was directly hit by the plane. The pilot is believed to have died, he said. The Federal Aviation Administration said in a statement that the plane was a single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza V-35 that had reported on the engine failure shortly before the crash. The statement said that it is not yet known how many people were on board. The crash will be investigated by the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board. President Bernardo Arevalo said Thursday that his political party suspended little support in the Congress and the Attorney General in hot pursuit. He will appeal to the Guatemalan people to help him overcome the entrenched old guard and achieve the change he campaigned on. We are clear that in a current context, we depend on the society and conveying them that together we begin to roll, Arevalo told press in an interview 2 weeks after his inauguration. We can't depend on a political system where those criminals and patronage networks still leak. Arevalo won the presidency in August, beating the establishment candidate by a comfortable margin. He is the son of the former president, credited with implementing some of the Guatemala's key labor protection, but Arevalo's strong showing in the crowded field was still a shock. The thoughtful politician with a background in the academia and conflict resolution fight with a message of challenging the country's entrenched power structure and resuming a fight against corruption. The face of the resonance to change is Attorney General Consuelo Perez, sanctioned by the U.S. government to allegedly undermining Guatemala's democracy. Perez has under her office autonomy to pursue Arevalos and his party since he won a spot in the presidential round of election last year. Arevalos wants her out, but she has so far refused to go. The president said Thursday that Perez's office is where the perverse system remains anchored, and we are looking for the legal means of resolving this. A theme run through 2026. And that's the international news for today. Before we go, let's look at our major stories. Gas blast in Nairobi kills 22 people, injures 222. From Gaza, satellite photo shows 1 kilometer depart on border with Israel. From China, authorities execute couples for throwing 2 children out of window. From Germany, near-Nazi hunters investigated for suspect. From United States, government to strike Iranian target in Iran, Iraq. Australia, police rescue 3-year-old boy trapped in cloud machine. I am Immaculata Irikana. Thank you for watching. Join us on all our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, X, of One, Instagram, Atlantic TV Net, or watch us live from our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress.